when you can be in the driver's seat like that.
How did you slow it down like that?
I don't know.
Do you know?
That's the question. That's the question we try to figure out.
Yeah. 3 seconds to break. Down at 2. On the step back, Jay. Yeah!
Being able to focus on the right things, control what you can control, are kind of things that I try to lean on and still lean on.
We're really fortunate today to have my dear friend, George Mumford with us.
George Mumford has worked with prison inmates and NBA luminaries like Michael Jordan and Shaquille O'Neal.
My addiction wasn't a detour, it was a vehicle.
Welcome to The Doctor and the Nurse, where I interview a high-performance guest, and then Dr. Daniel Amen and I sit down after to discuss what's going on in the brain for our guest in their high-performance capacity. Trust me, you don't want to miss this. Okay, 2025, here's the deal. Let's get after resolutions, throw them out. Let's make habits that last. So whether it's powering through workouts, recovering faster, or just feeling like the best version of yourself, your health starts at the cellular level. Check it out. I didn't even understand this, how important this is. And that's where MitoPure comes in. So MitoPure is no ordinary supplement. It's a precise dose of the rare postbiotic urolithin A, scientifically proven supercharged to your mitochondria, aka the cell's powerhouses. So think of it as hitting a reset button on your cellular health, clearing out the old and making way for the new. 2025 is the new. So with regular, habitual use, you'll feel the difference in improved energy levels to tackle each day with confidence, stronger, more efficient workouts, faster recovery, so you can do it all over again tomorrow. And the science doesn't lie. MitoPure is the only supplement clinically proven to rejuvenate cellular health, delivering double-digit gains, muscle strength, and endurance, even without changing your exercise routine. Yeah, you heard it right. The science meeting performance. So, exclusive offer, unlock your full potential 2025 right here, right now, the week of January 6th and 20th. Timeline is offering an incredible 33% off to my listeners of ordering MitoPure. So check out timeline.com/DavidNurse33 to claim your 33% off discount. That is timeline.com/DavidNurse33. Your cells are waiting and your best year starts now.
Iron Michael Chandler!
Big knockdown, Michael Chandler! Big right hand, dance hard.
Uncertainty is almost, it almost takes away from flow, because when you're in flow, you're in such a repeatable motion in something that the environment that you know so well. Like you can just get into a car and you don't know where you're driving in a sense. And it's the ability, like I was talking to this guy, Rich Deviney, who writes Attributes, was a Navy SEAL leader. He said that the ability to task switch. So go from you think this is coming and quickly flip the switch, quickly flip the switch. I don't know, do you think that's something that when you say you open, I think there's an interesting point where you say you walk in there with open hands of embracing uncertainty, but how do you tap into flow state if you don't know what's coming? Because that almost like flow states, you're not reactive. You're going. But you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, you're able to subconsciously respond.
Yeah.
And that's when I know I've looked back and thought, man, that felt like I was really in the zone, so to speak, there, where I was able to make those split-second decisions, but they were more calculated split-second decisions and responding more than I was just reacting. But in a sport like mixed martial arts, where it's a 5-minute period in a round, it's a very, very long time.
It's a long time.
If you've ever watched a fight and guys are just getting after it, girls are getting after it, whatever, and then all of a sudden you look at the clock and there's still 1:45 left. There's still almost 2 minutes left. They've only gone through a half to maybe even 3/4 of the round. There's still a lot of time left on the clock. So managing and negotiating the cardio aspect of it, while also not hitting the brakes too much. I'm a very in your face, come forward, foot on the gas kind of guy. But also, if I can do that while also trying to navigate what is happening in front of me, you know, I like to be in control when I'm in there. I'd rather be in control and then get countered rather than waiting back and getting offensively hit, if that makes sense.
Totally,
you know, my defense sometimes is my offense, you know?
Yeah. So it's almost like two parts. Let me try to break this down. So it's like you are on the attack. You are in your face coming at him, but you're almost like Matrix mode, watching punches go by you while you have your game plan. So it's two different things. Is there a time, a fight where you felt like that, where things, because ultimately flow in the flow gets where flow and focus, time just slows down. It's super slow.
There was, and that's the hard part about mixed martial arts. And you just saw it this past weekend. The Israel Adesanya was a very dominant champion I mean, he lost and then came back, but he's shown that he's one of the most dominant guys in the UFC, right? But he just had a really off night, you know, and that's not to take anything away from Sean Strickland. Sean Strickland, just similar to what I'm saying, had his foot on the gas, just kept attacking, never let Izzy get into his rhythm. You know, we talk about this in mixed martial arts a lot, is if you can do something to take a guy out of his rhythm, then he's not able to think clearly and be able to mount an attack toward you, right? So for me, there was a fight when I won the Bellator world title against Patricky Pitbull. Patricky Freire is his name. And I remember in that fight, and the fight didn't last a long time. I knocked him out in the first 2 minutes or so. But in that 2 minutes, it was the first time in my career where I was really actually thinking and seeing both feet, seeing both shoulders, both hands, seeing where his head was, and watching his mannerisms, watch how I would throw a feint, whether I would feint the right hand or hit him with a hard jab, and watch the way that he reacted or responded, and then set a trap and then ended up knocking him out with the right hand. But it was when you can be in the driver's seat like that.
How did you slow it down like that?
I don't know.
Do you know?
That's the question. That's the question we try to figure out as athletes, or even people studying athletes, or translating this to business, to your family life, whatever avenue you're looking at. But I mean, I think the biggest thing for me is I don't believe that if you haven't done everything right leading up to the time, the competition, the bright lights, when the cage door closes, or whatever it may be, there's always going to be things that are going to go right or wrong. But when things do go wrong, if you know that you hadn't put in the work, if you know you didn't live with the right amount of discipline, if you know you didn't do everything that you needed to do, you're going to find a way with being okay with losing. So that's why I've always been so diligent about doing the small things right my entire career, because ultimately in our sport, that's why they call it the puncher's chance. You can get knocked out by anybody in the world. It doesn't matter if you're a 2001 underdog or a 2001 favorite. You get hit on the wrong spot, you're going out. It's over. Or you might get caught in a weird choke or something, you know. So it's very uncertain.
Gordon Hayward, one man to beat.
You learned from one of the greats of all time. You referenced LeBron, but another great, Kobe, and you have an incredible story, interesting story of connecting with Kobe and working out with Kobe before everybody was working out with Kobe. Share a little insight. You don't have to tell the whole story, but a little insight on what you learned from Kobe too, and just why he was so wired.
Right. Yeah, I got the opportunity to spend some time with him. It was the year after he retired, and I kind of just took a shot in the dark and got his number and hit him up and asked if he would, teach me some things for a couple of days. And I was like, I'd be willing to come to you. And it was one of those things where we went to his place, and he told me to get there. I think it was like at 7:00, and I'm nervous, and because you hear about all his workouts and how they're legendary, so I don't know what to expect and what's going to happen. And so I'm up at like 5:30 with my assistant coach, and we're eating breakfast, trying to get ready. I need to make sure I have energy. I don't know if he's going to kill me or not. I don't know what's going to happen. And we show up there at like 6:30, and there's nobody at the school, and we're trying to get in. We don't have the key or anything, and the janitor is walking around, and he sees us and he's like, "What are you guys doing?" We're at like an elementary school, so it's probably not the best place for two grown men just to be wandering around. And he's like, "What are you guys doing here?" And we're like, "Oh, we're here. We're supposed to work out with Kobe Bryant." And he starts laughing at us like, "Yeah, sure, okay." And we're like, "Yeah, no, for real, we are." And he's like, "Well, if you were working out with Kobe, you would have already been done, because he would have been here at like 4:30." And we were like, "Well, he told us to get here at 7." And he's like, "All right, well, you can wait in the gym if you want." And he opened up the gym, and we go in there and shooting around trying to get warmed up. 6:45 goes by, no Kobe. 6:50, 7 o'clock, no Kobe. 7:15, no Kobe. 7:30 rolls around. We're still just kind of shooting around in there. And it's like, all right, well, now I should probably hit him up. And so I hit him like, "Hey, man, is this the right spot?" And is the address the right spot? "I'm here." And he's like, "Oh, yeah, you're already there? All right, I'll be there in 5 minutes." And he hangs up the phone. 5 minutes later, he walks in. He's just walks in with basketball clothes on, takes off his sunglasses, and he's like, "Ball." Didn't say anything else. Didn't say like, "My bad." Didn't say, just like ball. And we worked for like 2 hours that day. And after we were done, he's like, all right, tomorrow, 5:30, I'll text you the address," and walks out. And it was like, that was it. There was no talking. And then the next day, though, he was great. I mean, he got there 15 minutes early. We worked for another 2.5 days. He watched film with me afterwards. We built a great relationship. And I think it was one of those things where he was just testing me. He didn't know what kind of worker I was going to be, what I was going to be about. And I think I passed the test and was able to build an unreal relationship. And afterwards, he sent me this email, because I was texting with him like, "Hey, was there like a certain routine that you would always do?" And so he sent me an email of all the stuff he would do, like Monday through Friday. And it was ridiculous. Like, there's no way you could possibly do all this stuff. But then at the end of it, he said, like, "I know this is a lot, but if you're not trying to be the best, then why the F are you playing this game?" And that was the end of the email. And I still have the email saved today. And it's an unbelievable email, and something that I'll always keep and have.
What do you say the biggest struggle of your career has been? And then how have you worked to overcome?
Yeah, I think for me, the biggest struggle probably was when I left Utah and decided to go play in Boston. And then I had a major injury, and that kind of just put a halt on everything. And I think it was going to be a little bit of a struggle anyways, of me adjusting to new teammates, new coaches, new staff, new culture, all that stuff. But then when you add a rehab process on top of that, and then trying to play basketball again at a high level, those two things combined, I would say probably was the biggest struggle of my career, kind of just reacclimating into a team and trying to find myself again as a basketball player, but also, like I said, fit into a system and fit into what the coaches wanted me to do. And we had a lot of talent on the Boston team, and everyone was trying to kind of figure out where they fit on that team. And so that was probably the biggest struggle that I had. I think it was something that took me probably a couple of years to overcome. I think through talking with family members, talking with a sports psychologist, just looking inside and figuring things out on my own. Talking to God was a big thing. Praying about it, all those things I think helped me, but certainly was a struggle for me. One of the struggles that I've had.
Yeah, and that word expectations that weighs so heavy. We all have it on ourselves, and some expectations are bigger. And I know you go into Boston, being an all-star, come Utah, the expectations are huge. So how do you? It's great. I love it. You have the family, you have God, but battling the opinions of others. I feel like a lot of people struggle with overcoming the opinions that other people place upon them. And I know people put them all on you. You've heard the noise. Is there anything that knowing you as well, you're very comfortable in your own skin, Gordon. You've done a great job of working on that. Is there any advice you can give to people that are listening to those on social media, or listening to expectations placed upon them on others, how to overcome them so you're not living for others, but you're living for yourself, your family, God.
Yeah, I think that's one of the hardest things to do in today's world is the dealing with that social media stuff, and not listening to all that outside noise. For me, I actually got rid of Twitter and Instagram, and I still check it from time to time to post occasional things that I have to post. But when I got hurt, I mean, you're just sitting there and you're constantly reading comments and reading what other people say, and it's very toxic and it's very draining. It certainly can be depressing. And so one of the things that I did was just got out of that world. And so I don't read any comments or anything like that. If it's something that, like I said, like if I'm connecting with fans, then I'll get on there and do all that stuff. But just passing the time sitting around scrolling, like you won't find me doing that. And I think that definitely helped because it just, your mind gets focused on the wrong things. And I think being able to focus on the right things, control what you can control, be grateful for the things that you do have, the things that God's given you, the things that you get to do every single day, are kind of things that I try to lean on and still lean on, because it's not like there's no struggles where I'm at right now. It's, I think it's an ongoing process. It's a daily thing, but more than anything, I think having some sort of support system, whether that's family, whether that's a best friend, whether that's a mom or dad, whether that's an aunt or uncle, whatever it is, someone that you can confide in and you're not embarrassed or feel shameful to say everything that's on your mind, I think is really important. And I'm blessed and lucky that I have a family here, whether that's my wife or, just talking to my kids. Kids are great at putting things in perspective for you, because they don't care one way or the other if you had 40 points or if you didn't score at all, especially when they're younger and like my age. So sometimes it's getting away from the game like that, finding people that don't care about basketball or don't care about sports or whatever it is that, you do. Because it gives you man, this isn't the biggest, most monumental thing that's going on in the world. There's so much other stuff going on in the world. And when you're in it, it feels like everybody's looking at you and everybody's got all these expectations on you. And I can't go to the store because people are going to know that I didn't play well yesterday. And the reality is that's not the case at all. Everybody's doing their own thing. And so I think, a little combo of all of that.
My next guest struggled with heroin addiction in his 20s, but went on to become a nationally recognized teacher of mindfulness meditation.
How would an athlete or a performer at a high level step into an arena or into a boardroom meeting and be able to call up their flow? So flow is developed with the continuum of challenges, skills, your wellness bank. But is there a way that, hey, I've got the most important meeting of my life. I have got to get in my flow state.
Yes. The trick is not to try to get in.
I know that is the trick.
Because you try to flow, you don't go.
It's so fortunate.
But here's the thing. But you make yourself flow ready.
Ready.
So you do all of the. So you got to master the basic fundamentals, whatever they are.
Yes.
And then you got to keep training so that you master those fundamentals. Yes. And so then when you get to the place, you got to allow it to happen. So it's like you form the intention and then you allow it to happen. And so you're trying to make it happen. So in my book, I talk about, the art, Zen and the art of archery. And when it shoots, and I talk about that in the Mindful Athlete with Kung Fu, the Kung Fu character, Kwai Shai King. And it's this thing where you train yourself and then you got to let your training express itself from your ability to see clearly. And then when we see clearly and we're coming from the silence, there's creativity. That's just called flow creativity. Creativity and the wisdom that comes out of that silence. That's there. That's the masterpiece. That's when we start unlocking. When we embrace our greatness, we realize that everything, every question we ask, we already know it's inside. Everything that ever existed or will exist already exists. So now we're talking about quantum mechanics, where when the collapse of the wave function, you have all of these waves of possibilities. But then with intention and attention, and I would say consciousness level, we're able to collapse that wave function, and that's it right there. It becomes a particle.
I love that. Kind of, it's almost like Red Auerbach used to do, and he'd light up the cigar on the bench with the Boston Celtics because he'd already done all the work. He'd already done all the preparation.
That's right.
He was just letting himself flow in the coaching.
Yeah.
So I really like the ideas of you're flow ready. Right. You have your flow creative juices going, and then is it just you give yourself permission to unlock the flow? You have to trust what you've done, the challenges that you've done to get to that level.
Yes. So I live in flow a lot, and I'm not trying to live in flow, but I'm prepared. I'm studying, and I'm ready. But the main thing is my mind is relaxed and alert.
Oh, that's good. Yep.
And it's like.
Well, I can sense it in you, George, and I know you've had an incredibly busy week leading up to this, and you just seem very calm and peace. Is it also like a comfortability within your own skin that allows you to flow?
Yes. So let's talk about flow. Flow is when, like, I see myself as I have a body, I have a mind, I have a heart, I have a soul, spirit, and when I talk about emotions, I'm also talking about social. Relating to other people and whatnot. And those four aspects of being have to be in alignment. They have to be, and so my intention is, for the highest good, for the greatest good, for service, whatever it is. But I have to be able to see things as they are. Know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Yep. So there's true north. So whatever, I might want to go left or right, but true north. That's where I have to go. And so knowing which way is true north, then okay, if true north is here and I'm this way, that means I'm where I should get to true north, I gotta turn right.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Totally, yes.
And it's not like I have a preference, it's like, okay, I have an intention.
Right.
So I have to go with the flow. It's like that's where the current is taking me.
Yeah.
I have to go with it. It's like, and it's interesting because we did a social post a couple of times, but recently, from Marcus Aurelius, and he said, "What's in the way becomes the way." Mm-hmm. That's flow.
Yeah.
So you say you embrace whatever comes up. You say yes to it. You generate the hope, and then what's your intention? What are you trying to do? And that is going to determine the process you use to get there. So I like to say, so what's in the way becomes the way. So it's my addiction wasn't a detour. It was a vehicle.
Right. That's good.
So, and it's like whether it's my anything like my chronic pain or whatever it is, or there's a roadblock in front of me. The way to go and to get the flow is to realize that is a stepping stone.
Yes.
So you have to have a tremendous ability, a tremendous faith, a tremendous confidence, and understanding that when I align myself with divinity, with love, or I align myself with how things are, like gravity is a thing. If I align myself, I can use gravity to help me go where I need to go.
Yeah.
And so it's saying yes to life, but at the same time, understanding how am I going to relate to this situation in a way where I achieve my goal, but it's always going to be about me learning. Yep. Learning for learning's sake. And so when that happens, like for me, so I learned for learning's sake, but then I was learning the love and the love of learning. They all became intertwined. And what happens when you do that, because you need energy, you need positivity, you need to be able to say yes to life. And so when I learn and I achieve things, like I learn how to get clean, and then you achieve that generates enthusiasm. And that enthusiasm gets you, they call it the strong self-efficacy belief. So you get to the point where you say, not that I don't care, but whatever happens to me, I get to choose my response. If I can create space between stimulus and response, and in that space I have the freedom and power to choose. And so that's what it comes down to, is like, okay, how do I relate to this situation? Something happens, and we get to interpret what it means. There's no fixed way.
Right.
So if I have a glass that is half full with water, if I see that as half empty, then my vision is going to be like this. I'm going to be in survival mode, and I'm in growth mode. And you can only be in one or the other. You can't be in growth mode and survival mode at the same time. So one way is to have the glass half full, to come from abundance, to come from, oh, there's a way here. I just gotta figure it out. But the best way to figure it out is from the inside out.
Continuing to challenge yourself, like you talked at the start. Yes,
we call it killer instinct on some level.
Yeah,
but he's always competing. He's always practicing, being, pushing himself and challenging himself.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, because I've never even thought of that. Like I figured once they get to a certain level, they can just command it and have it on call. But to continue expanding,
it's continuous. Yeah, life like I'm going to learn until the time I die.
Yeah.
So from the time I wake up to the time I go to sleep, I'm looking and just learning and figuring out where the rhythm is or finding my own flow. It's coming from me. I have to be myself like he has to be himself. And for years I used to say Kobe Bryant is the closest thing to MJ, but then Kobe got to a point where I said Kobe's his own thing.
Yeah.
So I've been lucky enough to work with both those cats, and it's like and seeing them at different times. I saw Michael, near the end. I've seen Kobe from the beginning, and it's just my job is just to help them be more themselves, and so I can't take any credit for anything I do with anybody. I can only take credit for what I do, and it's their effort. But you can have the teaching, you can have the way to go, but if you don't make the effort, you won't get the flow. And so I talk about when you embrace yourself, that means you'll find the flow, but the flow has to be your flow. So even though it's out there, I would say what's out there is a reflection of what's in here. So when you find yourself and you let go, then that creativity, that spontaneity, and that wisdom of knowing, even though we don't know why we should know, it's non-linear. You can't really capture it. You can't put it into a study. It's just, it's a part. So there's the known and the unknown. That's why I talk about that quantum physics, or this idea that everything that ever was or ever will be already exists. But how do we create the situation where the wave function collapses and we have that experience?
All right, so Gordon Hayward, NBA superstar. Michael Chandler is an MMA champion. George Mumford was Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant's mental coach. So they all talked in this episode about how they, or Jordan and Kobe, dealt with pressure-packed situations with millions of dollars on the line, millions of eyeballs watching them. They had a little slightly different insight, but mainly agreed that the power is in the preparation to deal with the pressure of performance. So when you feel pressure of a moment, how do you lift yourself above it? Because you're in a lot of high level conversations and performing on stage. Like, is there anything that yet you have found? Is it just through the preparation, or is there other areas you've tapped into to really help lift you above?
Well, preparation for sure, right? You have to be able to make the shot with someone in your face. So preparation and confidence. And I think the one thing people miss is you have to want to.
Yeah.
You got to have the passion.
Right.
Like, I'm so excited to make the world a better place with what I know. And you have to want the ball then.
Yeah.
Because if you're like, I don't want to miss it, then you're just more likely to miss it.
Totally.
Right? Because negativity, and people don't know this. So there's an area of the brain called the cerebellum in the back bottom part of the brain. And the cerebellum's involved in motor coordination, but it's also involved in thought coordination. And I think of it as the Rodney Dangerfield part of the brain, right? And I'm just horrified that now that I'm 70, many people don't know who he is. But he's a very famous comic who used to go, I get no respect. And that was, I get no respect. Well, the cerebellum gets no respect. It's got half the brain's neurons, 10% of the brain's volume, but half of the brain's neurons is where processing happens. Negativity turns it off. And so if you go, I don't want the ball, you won't make the shot.
Totally.
But if you I can do this, give me the ball. I'm going to find a way to get the ball.
Yeah.
You make the shot.
Yeah, I think it kind of eliminates a lot of the pressure too, because you're not worried about what
the outcome is if you're so in belief.
And I've seen
you're meant to do it.
Kobe miss a lot of shots at the end of the game.
Yeah.
But everybody wanted him to have the ball.
Right.
Because I also saw him make a lot of shots at the end of the game. And it's the mental training ahead of time. Like, you see yourself making the shot.
Yeah.
You see yourself making the bar and pole vaulting. You see it. And that's where the visualization is important.
Yeah, totally.
Right? You don't play, oh, I missed it, over and over and over again.
Do you think there's a way to train that pressure? I've always wondered this too. Like, is there a way to train pressure as much as it might be in the end of a game situation? Or can you just get close to that?
Well, I think you train your mind to look for what's right rather than what's wrong.
That's a good point.
Negativity bias is bad for your brain. We have a study coming out on negativity bias, where if you focus on what's wrong rather than what's right, you have less function in your brain. And those are situations you need healthy function.
Yeah. So they all talked about reaching the top, the pinnacle in their sport. All-star, Chandler was a top MMA fighter, Kobe, Jordan. But it's not as great as people think it is. That was their realization. It wasn't actually the winning or losing that they loved. It was really the competition. So what do you think that is? The love of competition actually bigger than wins and losses, success and failure? Do you think that is what makes people great, is they love the competitive aspect of their sport or just
I think
life?
it's always the process. It's not the outcome.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you get it, it's like, what's next? Right? If you're competing at that level, as soon as you get it, it's like, okay, awesome. What's next? You know, I love Ariana Grande's song, Thank You Next.
Yeah.
I mean, it's sort of a silly song.
Yeah.
But she and I are friends, and I listened to it, and then I texted her, and I'm like, that's mental health in 3 words. And she texts me back, and she goes, what do you mean? I'm like, gratitude for whatever happens. Thank you. Looking forward. Gratitude, looking forward. That's mental health.
Yeah, it's even the same. That's a gratitude, looking forward. With Eric Spoelstra, we know, and Sean McVay, they were both in a dinner telling me that their lowest moment was when they won the championship. Like, McVay wanted to retire. Spoelstra felt depressed. Like, when they won what they thought was going to fill them was actually not even close to what was going to fill them.
Yeah. What fulfills them are their kids.
Totally. Yeah.
It's being in a great relationship.
Yeah.
Teaching a rookie to be better.
Yeah.
That it's not the outcome.
It's funny that our mind...
Like, what's the outcome? Like, I thought I was a total failure with the patient, and it bummed me out. And then I find out 10 years later, he's been sober for 10 years, and that was the issue. And I'm just like, it's the process.
Yeah.
Just be in it.
Yeah.
And do your best and win or learn.
Thank you so much for tuning in. And if you enjoyed this episode, there's plenty more where it came from. You can go find another episode just like it right here. Come on. You can click it. You know you want to.